Hello, great people. In the midst of the myriad of problems that the country is facing, ranging from economy to security, the National Security Advisor and the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has called for a national prayer. In this video, I'll be telling you the essence of that national prayer and what should be the priority of the National Security Advisor, what should be the priority of the First Lady. And from what we have seen, which I'll be giving you example, what I will now tell you how the Bola Tinubu presidency will be at the end of the day based on the action of his right-hand person, which happened to be the First Lady. So this video, I'll be covering that and a whole lot more for you. Now, let's dive into this analysis, great people. The presidency and should I say the First Lady, right, is saying that, oh, people should pray. First, we need to get something right. There are pastors that are called to handle spiritual things, right? So if you want to say maybe Senator Oluremi Tinubu, because there was a time it was reported that she was ordained in Redeemed Church, the church of Pastor Adejare Adeboye, as a pastor. So we can say maybe because she's a pastor. But then, it is important to look at Nuhu Ribadu. Nuhu Ribadu is a national security advisor. The role of a national security advisor is not to be organizing prayer. No, you are to advise the country on how people will be protected, lives and property will be protected, but mostly, perhaps, the government has already focused on regime protection rather than protection of life and property. But that's by the way. Now, it is not the role of the national security advisor to be praying. No, you are to strategize on the security situation on the country in such a way that you will hit the bandits in three ways: hard, fast, and strong. Whereby you send bandits, you send kidnappers, you send murderous herdsmen, you send Boko Haramis, terrorists, Islamic fundamentalists, you send them to their creator. So it is not the duty of their creator to kind of like temper justice with mercy, whether they will go to heaven or hell. But if you look at other countries, you don't see a national security advisor being in charge of organizing prayer. No, your expertise as a security advisor is not to organize prayer. You must be a security expert before you are appointed as a national security advisor. That means as a national security advisor, you are interfacing with the military, the police, the custom, the immigration, the DSS, the NIA, a lot of anything security, NSCDC. So it is not your role to be organizing prayer. There is a cathedral in Aso Rock. There are pastors there. If Pastor Adeboye cannot augment security, if Oyedepo, the Olukoya of MFM, all these big pastors, if they cannot organize the security architecture of the country because it is not their expertise, you cannot now take the duty of those people, which is to fast and pray. So you are now saying you want to fast and pray. And let us look at something, great people. If you are a notorious kidnapper, and they said that the National Security Advisor is talking about fasting and prayer, you will just laugh. You will just laugh and smile. The reason is that the person they are praying to is a very patient person. God is very patient. God does not give like an instant judgment, because that has happened in the past in the Bible, and God himself, promised to apply restraint. It happened during the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. You remember the story of Noah, when Noah built an ark and God used rain to kind of like flush everything flushable in the earth. It was written that God looked down from heaven and he himself felt sober that, oh, a lot of things had been destroyed, and he promised that that will not occur again. So God, since that time, has been a patient God. So you now want to apply the soft approach to murderous herdsmen, murderous terrorists, and bandits. Definitely, they will just be laughing. They will be like, okay, shebi it is when we die that we'll go and face that God, right? Okay, we will rule on earth, and we will rule for as long as we please and as brutal as possible. So you cannot say as a security advisor that you want to organize prayer session. The bandits and the kidnappers will just be laughing at you that, oh, that means that you are weak, if that is what you are thinking about. You are supposed to be thinking about the kinetic and non-kinetic approach into defeating banditry and terrorism. So for me, even thinking of it, I think Ribadu himself, if I am the president and you are thinking of organizing prayer, I will give you a query instantly. But then why would Ribadu be queried when the first lady is even involved, right? And now let us look at, I've talked about Ribadu. Let me go to the first lady a little bit before I go back to Ribadu. Now, the kind of advice that President Bola Tinubu is taking is reflective of the people around him, and we can't exonerate his wife. Now, I'm not there with them in the room or the other room when they are ministering to each other, but then the information we have in public domain, we can use it to make some assertions. And one of those assertions is that what role is Senator Oluremi Tinubu, the First Lady of Nigeria, is playing in the presidency of her husband? First, the First Lady introduced Ashwebi. You remember that Ashwebi, that she said that Nigeria needs a national fabric that will bring unity. That she went to Zimbabwe and she saw that Zimbabwe has a national fabric, so she introduced the national fabric, allegedly without the consultation of her husband. Because at the end of the day, the husband said that what he wants is a low-key celebration. And I asked at that point in time that you pick Ashwebi, right, which is the collective fabric, when there's something to celebrate. But as at that time, Nigeria sincerely has nothing to celebrate in the true sense of celebration. So the question is, what are you picking a national fabric for? Is that what is left when people are facing economic hardship? When you are supposed to be kind of like touring the country, to be crusading the importance of the policies of the president and the gain that it will bring on the long run. Rather, you went to Zimbabwe to bring Ashwebi. And when you brought the Ashwebi, the question is that, Madam First Lady, perhaps you've been to over 100 countries, or I know that you must have been to over 50 countries because you are a person of privilege. Do you not see the train system in New York? Do you not see the infrastructure in London? Do you not see the development in Saudi Arabia? So you cannot bring down one. It is Ashwebi that you can bring. Now, that is aside. I just gave you to kind of like put it in context. Now, this second one, which is to hold a prayer session, right? And you want to ask yourself that, Madam, did you consult your husband when first subsidy was about to be removed? Did you hold a prayer session before the first subsidy was removed? Because harsh economy has an implication on insecurity. When the economy is hard, when people cannot feed, when people cannot do not have a shelter over their head, when people do not have hope of what will happen to them tomorrow or how they will survive, definitely some will divert their skills, energy, and strength to perpetuating crime, right? So did you advise your husband before imposing policies that will bring economic hardship to Nigerians? Now, if the one of first subsidy can be forgiven, when the subsidy on electricity were to be removed, did you tell your husband that, okay, my darling husband, please let us pray before we removed it? When you are putting this policy, the issue of tax, did you and your husband pray and consult, oh, our Father in heaven, we want to consult you that this tax, if we remove it, is it the right time? Will it be okay? When you want to removed, because within a space of 1.5 years, the price of petrol has been increased 3 times. At the time that you want to be increasing those prices, did you consult our Father in heaven? Right? So your policies has brought hardship that will naturally increase insecurity. You now want to go and be disturbing God. Have you forgotten that God is not a Nigerian? God has created so many countries, and God himself created some countries perhaps when he wasn't happy. We can assert that those are the countries that don't have enough natural resources. Those are the countries that have that have natural disasters, right? Typhoon, hurricane, earthquake. Those are the countries. So those countries are calling on God now. God has given Nigeria what it needs to survive and prosper. We have bad leadership. You still call on God again? No, God will not answer your call. Even if I'm God's PA, I will not pick up your call. I will just be declining it because God has already given you things to prosper. So did you consult God when you are taking these policies, right? This policy decision, you didn't. Another thing is, when your husband was to buy private jet and you said that there's no money, you are feeling the people's pain. The little money that we have, when you are using it to create something for yourself, did you call on God to ask at that point in time that our Father in heaven, we need a private jet, but we said we should ask, should we buy it now? Won't it bring, kind of like a drain in the finance of Nigeria? You guys went ahead and bought the private jet without consulting our Father in heaven. Now, when your husband was to buy Escalade, did you guys consult our Father in heaven? So you guys are riding private jet, you are riding Escalade, right? The legislators are riding luxury jeeps that they bought for themselves. Each senator, according to what Jokalu, is going home with 14 million naira. Did you guys consult our Father in heaven before you guys are appropriating public resources to yourself? You didn't. Now, the implication of that selfishness and the harsh economic policies that are not well thought out is now coming. You now want to go and be disturbing our Father in heaven. God is not a Nigerian. So it is not the role of NSA. And if all these things is anything to go by, it shows the kind of advice that the First Lady will be giving the President when they are in private. And that is serious concern, because the First Lady is the right-hand person of the President. When minors were being arraigned, where was the First Lady? Why didn't the First Lady instantly go and consult the husband that, oh, our government is being embarrassed, and orders should have come from the presidency immediately to stop that embarrassment on the government to end that trial? So you can see that everything we call on God, why we fail to do our own part. So my advice is, madam, do your part as a good advisor to your husband. Advise your husband to do the right thing. Let there be jobs. Let there be quality of life for the people. Let there be renewed hope as you guys have promised. Then insecurity will naturally be on the low. And naturally, you don't need to fast and pray. When the people are satisfied, when they are social incentive, you don't need to fast and pray. The presidency said about 650 billion naira has been shared. And I made a video on this platform asking people, do you receive 25,000? Because 25,000, they said, have been shared to 25 million Nigerians. Till now, I'm yet to see one person that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows another person that has received that money. Why wouldn't there be insecurity? Why wouldn't there be insecurity where the resources of Nigeria is being appropriated to less than 1% of the population? So our something is not about fasting and praying, it is about strategy. And it's high time we stop disturbing God for something that we can solve by ourselves. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omoshola Deji. Dr. Deji is a political scientist with a PhD in political science, and this is where we analyze politics and happenings in the polity. Do you want to subscribe? Do you want to turn on your notification button? Do you want to catch up with my past videos? And of course, I've got great videos coming your way, interesting videos at that. Till I see you again, you already know that I love you all sincerely.